G'day, I'm Ben from Think Social Media, and like Martin and James, this is like the Olympics of speakers. We're all from different countries, but I'm from Australia and based out of Vancouver. I work with Think Social Media. We're a digital agency for the tourism industry with our roots in social media. So Jake asked me to speak because earlier this year in March, I spent a month on a bus with 5 bloggers and a videographer driving around New South Wales, followed by MTV. So, yep, a lot of hours with psychiatrists, and I want to show you sort of how we took our principles of social media and what we believe in the industry and how we put them to practice. Yeah, we believe at Think some crazy stuff like social belongs at the core of all marketing campaigns, and it actually amplifies traditional media. I know, crazy talk, hey? This is the new purchase funnel. It's called the social purchase funnel, and it's got things called feedback loops. Pretty crazy stuff, but basically at the bottom of the funnel is repeat and recommend, and that's when social media marketing kicks in and friends of friends do the marketing for you. We believe these guys are actually useful. These are actually passionate fans. So how do you actually get these guys on board to do the marketing for you? And we believe in like honing in on their passions. So if they're passionate about your destination and the niche that you're involved in with your destination, they'll do all the work for you. And when I mean do the work for you, they become product champions, destination champions, and they'll even do strange things like put a tattoo on their butt saying that they're the ultimate ski bum. And this guy's got an Aussie tattoo on his shoulder. So crazy stuff like that. And you know, we believe that social is kind of an evolution in the sense that, you know, social media will actually save you money down the track. Shock horror, but that's what's happening. We also believe that we know politics and they belong in every DMO. So with this case study that I'm about to show you, I'll talk to you about the final results, which actually is the first time I'm allowed to present, and what it means for advocacy for a DMO and basically the Minister of Tourism for New South Wales. And that there's always a gorilla in the group and how to win over doubters when it comes to social media and travel bloggers. And basically we're helping these kind of people along the path to get there. We believe in this very strongly, and that the world is changing, and that basically it's a dialogue now, and so you can't broadcast. This is from William, the guy I work with. He strongly believes in it. So building brands is not so much like James said about the motto, but it's the sum of all experiences and stories. And the next level of that is how those stories get shared. And that's when you use the passionate fans to actually help amplify your marketing. So New South Wales, we're their social agency, and we came to them, they're like, right, we're ready to do our first ever social media campaign. We're like, cool, what's your objective? And they're like, we want to do an international youth campaign. We're like, sweet, no problems. What kind of content do we have to work with? And they're like, we don't have any content. Right, awesome. So basically what we did is we put that at the crux and the core of the campaign. Is like, if you don't have any content, let's go out and make some content generation. Enter the travel blogger. So basically what we decided to do is crowdsource the content that we're going to produce to make an international youth website for New South Wales. So basically we decided it's going to be called Unmapped, because youth today, when they travel to Australia, they don't have a bloody clue except for they want to see a kangaroo and a koala and they want to have a surf. And that's it. But so basically we decided instead of making an itinerary for travel bloggers, we're going to do the opposite and give them no itinerary. So for 1 month we went around New South Wales with 6 travel bloggers in a small little minivan, just like our target audience does when they come to Australia. So what we did is we found influencers in the target audience that New South Wales targets. So we had America, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK. And then Joshy down the bottom was our videographer, so a vlogger who came along and shot everything that happened. Sort of, so the bloggers were concentrating on content, and he was sort of filming the reality behind the scenes and shooting film as well. So I took an old school concept, threw him in a bus, and took him around for 1 month. Basically, does anyone have kids in the room? Any of those kids have a birthday? That's like pretty much what dealing with a month of bloggers is like, all right? Every day is their birthday, and there's 6 of them, and you all have to give them attention. So yeah, it was a long month, but it truly worked, because what was super interesting is that there's 5 different target audiences on one bus experiencing one thing. So day 1, I took them to the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras, and they're on the floats. Some of them were like, yeah! Some were like that. And then the next day I threw him out of a plane. I took him skydiving. And so that's the kind of experience I wanted to see. But the guy from the UK loved one thing, and the girl from Canada was like, that was okay. So you kind of get to see 6 different angles of one experience, which is great because you're getting review and content about how that target audience will do it. So we threw him on the bus, but we want to break it into phases. So what happened was New South Wales, they're like, great, let's do this. Let's take the travel bloggers. Somehow we got sign off on it. They're like, we don't have an online community. We don't have a Facebook group. We're like, really? Bugger. So we built them one. So Visit New South Wales. So we started building a fan page of locals, and I hope James is here, but basically we targeted locals and asked them the questions that basically every traveller asks locals, or as from the last group, taxi companies, cabbies. But we asked them things like, where's the one place you would send these bloggers? What's the one thing they have to do? And who's the one local? Who's the influencer? Who's the product champion that's sitting at the end of the bar that these guys have to meet? And the locals just took off, and they fired in questions, and they told us exactly where they wanted us to go. So they came in with like over 1,000 entries of people's places they had to go see and experiences they had to do, all user-generated content. So from the get-go, we had about 20,000 locals giving us our ideas and itinerary suggestions. This is great. We've only got 1 month to go around the state, and we've got over 1,000 options to go do. So we jumped in the bus and off we went. We had over 20,000 people. We had a crazy amount of engagement. And basically front and center, we asked them, where to next? So every day we didn't know where we're going and what we could do. So we put up options like, should we go here or should we go here? Should we do this or should we do that? And the locals and all the fan page sort of made the decision for us. So it was pretty cool. Down to basically the bloggers would throw up like, where should we eat dinner in Bondi Beach? So this gives a chance for the industry, all the restaurants to jump in and say, come here, come there. The locals tell it, So I think we ended up eating ribs at Hurricanes. There's no way the travel bloggers would have found that in time, without having ideas. And there's no way locals couldn't have got involved in an international marketing campaign if it wasn't grassroots like this. But what also happened, and I don't know, the same thing as any road trip that goes really well, there's shenanigans along the way. And dares happen, and bets happen, and you have to owe people favours. So basically, John here from the UK lost a bet to the girl from Canada, and we said, right, we've got a challenge. What should we do in the Hunter Valley that involves pain? And so the guy that owns a chili factory said, why didn't you come and eat the world's hottest chili? Awesome. So we're in wine country, and so we drove there. A jalapeno is 300 units of hotness. I forget what the terminology is. This is 1.3 million. And so it's extremely hot. You have to bring your own liter of milk to eat this chili. It's awesome. But what ended up happening, we shot a short film, and it basically went boom all over the internet. People wanted to see a travel blogger in pain, and I totally agree with them. But what happened is we're in wine country, like we're meant to experience wine and hot air balloons and stuff like that. These guys, this sub-destination is sitting on a gold mine. You know what I mean? If people have to come here and do wine country, like they're sitting on a gem. Basically no tourist is going there. He's just a local producer, and he sells a chili for $5 so people can be in pain for the next 15 minutes. Brilliant. So what happens is like you find gems, because you're crowdsourcing ideas. It's not the big players that can participate. It's also the little guys because it's open source. So it was great. It was really fun to see bloggers in pain. I wish I could show you the film, but come see me afterwards. But they also did the experiences that you expect from their thing. So they saw the kangaroos, but they also did real-time footage. So you can see on the top right there, he's wearing a GoPro camera while he's taking a flight lesson. That's awesome. That's real-time content. Down in the bottom left, we did a world first. The bloggers all tweeted while they skydived. So from 14,000 feet, they were tweeting away. Pretty cool. It's just a way to turn the average sort of travel product into something unique that their audience will actually participate in and get revved up about. So it's pretty cool. And in the middle there, that was when MTV was sort of following us and filming along. But the bloggers had sort of a theme, and this is where they have to find the locals. So they found along the way, mainly via Twitter. So down the bottom, they found a guy that won the Tour de France. There's a world champion surfer there that they had a surf with, a winemaker, a girl that climbed Everest when we were at a rock climbing place. All those kind of people made for interesting content. And also what happened is that not the big players was always participating, but the little guys. So this is a town of Grenfell in New South Wales. Anyone heard of it? You never should. It's a tiny little 300 place town that will never ever play in part in an international marketing campaign. But they rallied 300 locals to jump on our fan page and not let go of that fan page for 48 bloody hours. So we said, right, well, what have you got? You've got our attention. They're like, we have the only international guinea pig racing. We're there. So we rocked up and we made the front cover of the Grenfell Times. But what was great about that is the industry was all on board. They were like, whoa, if Grenfell can play, we can all play. And all of a sudden, people understood that this is actually crowdsourced. We'll go anywhere and anywhere. So it was cool for industry engagement. We used Tumblr to put all our content to centralize it, and then our community manager for New South Wales spread it across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever he chose. So it's pretty cool. These are the themes. So when the bloggers had to go to a destination, they had to find something in a story or a tweet or a blog about these themes. This is what New South Wales has to offer, and that's their differentiation. So I'd love to show you just one quick video. Is that all right? It's a 1-minute video. So I want to pick, it's basically the roadshow, but the working holiday visa in Australia is massive for New South Wales. So basically, one of our bloggers found this girl, and she just told the story.
Susan Hilbig, and I'm from the States, but grew up in Texas. Saw a lot of Australia when I was traveling, and I definitely put the Blue Mountains on the top of my list for going back, and that's how I ended up back here. And now I'm working at Weary Trail Rides, which is nestled right in the heart of the Blue Mountains, really, and quite gorgeous, though occasionally quite rainy, as you can see, but it's all worth it. I was staying at the Katoomba YHA, and I knew that I was looking for an opportunity to stay in the Blue Mountains for hopefully 6 months at that time, but I was scratching together basically what I was going to do with a gap year. That way I could justify it to my dean while I was on the study abroad. My professor was really supportive, and he was saying, all right, just make a game plan. Got on the website, figured out exactly what the forms were I needed to do, which even that only took about a day. And while I was at the Katoomba YHA, I talked to them about what horseback riding opportunities were in the area, and they put me in touch with Kathy, the owner of Wearyberry, and we talked on the phone and then emailed a few times, and things just sort of went from there, and I can't believe how lucky I was. And I think a gap year is really about testing whether you have the courage to go after what you really want to do. I mean, that's the way I've used it. That's what I've gotten the most out of, is chasing my dreams. It's not, I don't know what to do with myself, so I'm just going to go waste some time in Australia. For me, it was a chance, an opportunity to do exactly what I want to do and to really make some dreams come true. So I figured, why not give it a shot? When else am I going to have a chance? Why should I keep waiting?
It's pretty cool. We did that in 10 minutes on an SLR HD camera about yay big. She did in one shot, but like that's all the passion. She took all of America through the sales funnel of how easy it is to come and work holiday in Australia. New South Wales now is going to use this internationally across North America. This is their one video. So in one video is done. So that was the real time of finding passionate people that actually care. So that was the trip. That was 1 month. So we did all that in 1 month only to produce content that they could use to make a youth website. But you know, what we did is we traveled the entire state, over 3,000 kilometers. We went to, you know, dozens of destinations, met all these locals, got the industry involved. There's a lot of ticks just for creating content. So the next time you have to create content, it's kind of like, why would you just create content and that's it? Put social at the core, and you can invite all the locals and the advocacy and the industry to actually get on board in a big campaign for a fraction of the cost. So basically I love stickers, so I stuck them up all over there. But so we ticked all these KPIs, and then the one thing that they said at the end is like, all right, now we need a shiny video for our tourism minister. So I'm going to show you the actual social ROI results for the first time, world premiere. I got approval yesterday. So it's a little video that just shows why we did it and the results. So here we go. So that's how you get the most out of travel bloggers for 1 month. And basically, if you need to create content, putting social at the core of creating that, you know, just magnifies the value of it. So I'll see you for questions afterwards, and thanks very much. I'll hand over to Emmanuel.
I actually didn't make a presentation. I figured I'd just tell you the little story of our blog that started in 2009. I know some of you, I met a couple of people when we launched the strategy in 2009. All of our budgets went online. So we didn't do any print advertising, any radio, nothing traditional. We just shifted all of our budgets online. I'll be talking a little bit more about that tomorrow. I'll focus on the blog today. But the idea initially was that having an online strategy, 80% of those budgets were going towards trying to convert the user that was already looking for a short getaway destination like Montreal or any urban destination. So we figured, well, there's still a 20% where we still need to work on the awareness of Montreal, and more specifically on what to do once you're in Montreal and how to convert that user, because that idea of what Montreal is all about is pretty much in everybody's mind already, or at least our target audience, where you'll get that French flair, you'll get that North American vibe and feel, but what am I going to do once I'm in Montreal? So we decided to launch one of the first blogs in the tourism industry. And the way we went about it was, let's get locals to talk about their Montreal. So we hired 5 bloggers that each blogged in specific fields. So there was a gastronomy blogger, there was the gay blogger, the nightlife blogger, and so on. So they really focused on specialty and knowing their product inside out. And it's interesting because it was the first step in an overall strategy that Tourism Montreal has decided to shift towards talking about what's interesting or what that consumer is looking for in terms of niches, and that reason why I'm going to select to go to Montreal versus another destination. The way we went about it, though, was a little bit more of a traditional approach to it. So those 5 bloggers, it was all about their personality that was shining through versus how do I put forth Montreal. So I'm just going to show you a little video, for example, of Tammy, who was one of our bloggers back then. As you can see, it was much more about Tammy than it was really about Montreal. Another example was Brandon, who was our nightlife guy.
Hey, what's going on? My name's Brendan Murphy. I've been a music journalist for about 10 years now. For 4 years, I've been writing a column about Montreal's music scene. I'm going back to bed.
Anyway, so like I was saying, this is a city that really comes alive at night. That's why Montreal Tourism asked me to show you guys around a bit.
I'm not going to show you all the video. They're actually all on YouTube. But that whole strategy allowed us to create a lot of video content. And it was all about how that blogger was seeing Montreal through his own eyes. But it was still an approach where Tourism Montreal was in the driving seat, in the sense that, hey, Brandon, why don't you go out and talk about the nightlife scene on St. Catherine, for example, or why don't you, Tammy, talk about this little restaurant that you've discovered. I would say that now in 2012, we've really shifted towards much more of a magazine approach, where we have a whole bunch of contributors. We've kind of killed the whole idea of having specialty bloggers. We're still very much focused on niches where you can find the content for the cutting edge, for family, for example, but it's a whole bunch of different contributors that come up with their own ideas. And those contributors are all local Montrealers, and they'll all talk about their own Montreal. The other thing is that we went from a video where it would be a blogger that would present the whole content to a video where we focused a lot more on the experience on the destination, thus allowing us to do a lot more outreach and to put that content on earned and owned media a lot easier. I'll give you a couple of examples of that. This is one of the blog posts that, one of the latest blog posts about Montreal's Fashion Night Out. The idea being, it's not a blogger that is talking to you. It's much more that whole experience that you're gonna live while you're in Montreal, and that whole approach has allowed us to really push the content and to be featured on other sites than only our owned media, because those videos are not. They're not about one person that is necessarily associated to Montreal. It's more about an event or something to do in Montreal. Some of these videos, I mean, there are thousands of videos about Montreal. Some of these videos have on average sometimes 20,000, 30,000 views on YouTube. It's not a lot for one video, but when you think of the fact that it's one person that's videographing that content, that's going out on the street, that is going into a room to after that mount the whole video, it's a lot of video and a lot of views on overall Montreal. So that whole niche approach, the whole idea of giving back to locals and giving them a chance to talk about their own Montrealer is actually a great opportunity for us to get rich content, to get a lot more UGC, and also to get a lot more interaction with the community, with more contributors, and get more ideas. I just wanted to give you a little overview of what we're trying to do. Tomorrow I'll be talking a little bit more of that social shift that we're doing at Tourism Montreal, but for the first phase of it is how do we get Montrealers more involved in our blog, and how do we stop even using all those regular contributors to get locals to really talk about their own Montreal on our blog. Thank you.
Well, another round of applause for the two best presenters here today, Ben and Emmanuel. Thank you. And if you didn't hear me before, I did say that you can have a one-on-one meeting with Ben after this session. So I will excuse some of you as you run out the door downstairs to sign your name up on his sheet of paper. So congrats. So I'll kick off the question and answer with the first question for Ben, and then I'll come into the audience and we'll do questions from you guys. The New South Wales example is extraordinary. It looks beautiful. It just is so inspiring. I know a lot of people in here are thinking, yes, I need to copy exactly what that was. But for a lot of people in here, you know, the scale was maybe too big for them. I mean, 30 days, bus, going across the state. How do you scale that down? Like, how would you go to a destination that's sitting out here amongst the crowd, a small city, a small destination? How do you take that same feel and scale it down both in terms of size, days? What are the key elements that you still have to maintain to get that result? I'll let you take that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right. 1 month, one bus. There was 6 of us in a bus, MTV following us. It actually wasn't that big a deal. You know, a month is a long time to work straight and deal with bloggers that are temperamental, but what we found is that you break it into phases. So I went through it quickly, but phase 1 was to build your online community, get your locals involved, okay? 2 is the content generation, so actually real-time generation. And 3, the whole crux of that entire thing was to build them a youth website because they didn't have any content. So stop everything, we were making content. So all that buzz and all the industry engagement and all the cute numbers, it wasn't anything, they were byproducts. So we were creating content. So if your content sucks, you're not going to bring anyone to your destination. But by allowing content generators, and what we found is those by making niches in those themes, food, wine, surfing, mountain biking, rock climbing, whatever your destination's got, find the influencers and they'll do it for you. They'll do it passionately, they'll write real time, they'll write with all the heart they can. And you know, one of the questions I get asked the most is, you know, how did you find these bloggers? Oh, sorry, let's call them content generators, because that's really what they were. They're influencers. Don't get stuck on numbers. They don't need 10,000 Twitter followers. They need to know that they are passionate about that one thing. Don't bring a fashion blogger to go surfing. It just doesn't work. It gets real weird real quick. But so what you find is that, like, I mean, one of our niches was rock climbing. Our Canadian girl doesn't like heights. Fail. So she wrote about the local town. You know what I mean? You can't win them all, but what you find is that when they're passionate about it, they'll go after it whole hog, and it's really cool. So make sure that don't get stuck on numbers when it comes to bloggers.
Emmanuel, answer that same question for us. I mean, how did you guys, with the Tourism Montreal blog, which is wonderful in and of itself as well, how did you find these people to start building this content? How did you find the influencers or the content generators?
Well, we actually found them, most of them. We initially found them online. The first few, we went out to. We went out searching for people that already had a presence online, and we posted an ad online saying we're looking for bloggers. We were when I said we were one of the first destinations, we were actually the first destination to say, hey, we're looking for bloggers. We're willing to pay for bloggers like a journalist, and we are actually seeing this as a great opportunity for a new business for you guys to get paid for, because bloggers don't generally get paid for contributing. So it actually created a lot of buzz initially because of the fact that a lot of bloggers were going, well, I can't believe that Montreal is willing to pay me to talk about Montreal, and I think it's a great opportunity. Afterwards, once that whole buzz was created, once people saw that the blog was actually getting a lot of headway and a lot of interest, and that locals were actually coming to our blog to see, well, what's going on in Montreal this weekend? What should I be doing in Montreal this weekend? There was a real notion of there's knowledge there, and these people love what they do, and these people are passionate about Montreal, and that's what they want to share. So other contributors started coming to us and saying, well, you guys are focused on those 5 niches and those 5 bloggers. Is there a point where we can start actually contributing to the blog ourselves? So we saw this opportunity to actually start breaking those silos and to have a whole bunch of contributors that had their own voice, and that would also create more buzz around the blog, because they would also feature those posts that they were putting up on their own media. So that was a great opportunity. And now what we're trying to do is actually to get those Montrealers to also start participating. We have a few. It's hard to get good content when you're not specifically in that business, but we've seen a few videos that we've started sharing on our blog and posting on our blog that are just so much better than anything that Tourism Montreal could do, because those people, like Ben said, are truly passionate about what they're talking about.
If you guys wrote down the word passion while you're taking notes, I think I would underline it based upon the 2 answers that you guys just gave. And the fact, like you said, I mean, there's better content creators out there than the DMO. I mean, yeah, and you can go and find those people. Questions from
Can I just actually point out something?
Please.
It's funny because Ben said it's a new way to do destination marketing, and I'll talk about this tomorrow. I don't think we should be doing destination marketing anymore. We should be doing destination management now. And so go out there and find those great opportunities and those great stories and try and curate them and push them out there. That's the biggest challenge.
I like the foreshadowing for tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just quick question, as you mentioned that you've moved more towards silos and then therefore more and more contributors. As you've increased the contributors, are you paying all of them still?
Definitely.
Okay.
There's some, of course, some are just sharing their content. We're just happy to share it back, but it's their own content. But overall, when somebody comes up to us and says, I have an idea, I'd like to talk about this, we have a fee base that we propose, and we're fair with everyone.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Melissa.
Also, don't be afraid to ask bloggers. Just ask them.
Hi, I have a question about the road trip with the bloggers. Did you have to pay them on top of obviously hosting them? I'm sure they didn't pay for anything while they were on the trip, but did you have to pay them? And did they own their own content, or is that your exclusive content?
Yeah, no, great question. A couple of them smoked pretty heavily, so we did have to pay a daily sort of allowance. No, basically, we went out there and asked. We went out and asked. We just
I'm telling on you.
Yeah, you can tell. It's fine. But no, basically, we just said, look, we want to take you to Australia for a month, all inclusive. You know what I mean? We gave them a daily stipend, and looked after accommodation, and I drove while they created content. No, they didn't want any more than that. Did they own the content? New South Wales owned the content, but they under the right that they had to credit whoever took the content. So that was pretty cool. MTV owned their own content and licensed it to New South Wales. But what was really interesting is that the bloggers got way more traction. Sorry, the content generations bloggers, when they created video, got way more traction than MTV because it was just real and the passion was there. So it's interesting to watch that.
So what, for the whole tour for the month, what was your total budget, and how much PR and media support did you have behind that to generate the 22,000 fans? And I mean, did you have a PR firm working with you as well as any traditional advertising or any paid media?
You know that slide I showed of the gorilla? Yeah, we're dealing with that. No, we had no PR backup whatsoever. This is grassroots. This is their first ever social. So, it was... That last video I showed for the CEO and for the tourism minister, they were sweating bullets the whole time we were on the road. They're like, can we just keep them in a silo in the office and we'll bring the content to them, and they could, but they let go and they gave us a chance. But basically, on day one, it builds up. And I think that's the big shift we're seeing with traditional PR. Boom, there's your splash on day one. You've got your press release. Whereas a social campaign over 30 days always goes like that. And the results were just like that. The engagement was there because we built the fan base, but then the industry and the local engagement built from day 1 to day 30, which is key. You want to keep building upon it every day. So yeah, we didn't have any PR backup except for the ones we earned on the road. And that's why you pick social media influencers. The whole point of not having an itinerary is no traveller to Australia will bar a little bit of online research. They don't know what they want. So basically, anytime they rocked into a town, they're on Twitter and Facebook and just walking down the road, what should we do? And we weren't allowed to go do something unless someone had talked back to us on Facebook or Twitter. So that was the kind of the rule that they had to follow, which made it super interesting. And it also makes travel bloggers work harder because they've got this, one of them had 10,000 fans or whatever, Twitter followers. And I was like, you're the guru, you're the one that knows everyone, and so you make them work to create that unique content, and that's so crucial. So, yeah.
Got a question for you on that one as well. You know how everyone thinks that social media is free, but you mentioned that you had some paid media around the campaign as well.
Yes.
Around about what percentage do you think went into paid, and were you using that to maintain that 30-day momentum?
No, the paid was straight up to build a community up front.
Okay.
So
like fanning, trying to acquire fans.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was phase 1, is to create an online community, because you can create content, but the whole point was to bring all the locals in it. And we're starting to see it now in every marketing campaign. CTC, making the 35 million directors or whatever, it's all to try and get the locals back involved in international marketing, because with Facebook, it's friends of friends. We're not bound by geography anymore, we're bound by interest groups, and that's why we honed in on the passions of surfing and wine. So
did you put some into boosting Facebook content as the content was being created?
No, so there was nothing. So once day 1 to day 30 there was no ads.
No paid.
Yeah, it was all earned, because the whole point was to invoke locals and industry. We wanted to see how much they get involved, because with New South Wales, they're outward facing a lot of the time to get more people from internationally, but we're like, that's not how social works. We need the locals to get their friends and families to get here. So that was the whole point we wanted to prove, and that's why that little video at the end is so crucial with PR and media and all the internal departments, and then the Ministry of Tourism as well, to get buy-in for advocacy. Because if they can't see that, so that's basically for the tourism minister, which is awesome, because now he's like, whoa, this
You know
worked.
about those videos.
And that's the ones
They
who
work.
get funds. Yeah.
Okay, so one other question. What's your total traffic to the blog on a monthly basis, and what percentage is local versus potential visitors?
I'm not going to give a number because I can't remember for sure the number, but I know overall we're up 25% every month on the blog. That was my pet peeve at the beginning of this project, where it was mainly local traffic. And because I would get our job is to get tourists to Montreal, not to talk to Montrealers. Now I'm so happy there's so many people that are from Montreal on the blog, because they are the ones actually that are sharing the content, that are liking the content, and that are commenting on that content. So initially I would say it was about 60% Montrealers, and I think it's shifted where it's 40% Montrealers. And if there's one thing we're gonna try and have to focus next year, is to get a lot more Montrealers involved, and that's actually why we launched the blog in French this year also.
So we talked about finding influencers. Address clout for us. Pro, con, is it terrible or just really bad? What do you guys think about clout? How does it factor into this conversation? Because I know 2/3 of this room is thinking about clout. So how does it factor into what you guys do, and how should it factor in, if at all?
You mean clout as in,
Clout, the service with a K.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How do you
Sorry.
want to do it? So, I mean, yeah, I think it comes in a lot, but it's all about who you're trying to get to, you know what I mean? A big clout, that someone that doesn't surf, when we tried that with New South Wales with the previous campaign, he had 100,000 Twitter followers, huge clout, didn't know anything about surfing. Fail, you know what I mean? Move on, you know what I mean? So I'd rather have someone that's got 1,000 and followers that actually get it and are interested in the content. So no, yes and no, if you know what I mean. Not about size, but yeah, about actually if they horseback riding like that girl, she's going to influence her entire friend network to go to Blue Mountains. That's awesome for conversion, for that horseback riding and that destination and that YHA hostel. That's what it's all about. And I think in social, it's way more about the rifle approach than the shotgun. Don't throw mud at a wall just because, you think 100,000 followers are going to retweet that. It's just not going to happen. So it's about unique, remarkable content. So, like skydiving, for example, put a twist to anything that you're going to produce. Them tweeting from 14,000 feet was huge for all their followers because it was unique. Kind of a little minuscule compared to what Red Bull's trying to pull off right now, but you get the gist of it. So take your tourism product, put a unique spin on it, and people will share it.
Nice. Questions? Additional questions here in the audience? Oh, that can't be it. This is literally the best panel of this conference. Martin aside. Martin, you aside.
I have a question for Montreal. Yes. So did you integrate your blog page into the website, and how exactly are you doing that?
It's actually a good question, because that was one of the biggest conversations we're having at the start of this strategy. We did not integrate it into the website, and if I regret it today, absolutely not, because it's I believe that anyway, destination websites will not exist in the next few years, and that it's all about where you're at in your decision process. And it's going to be all about a whole bunch of little ecosystems. So when you have a platform that allows you to distribute content and to organize content according to what travelers are looking for, I think it's a great opportunity. Plus, the fact that it's not on a rigid website also allows it to be a lot more organic than if we had integrated it into our website.
Excellent. Who else? additional questions? We have a few minutes left here. I know you're all thinking, I need to run out the door so I can go sign up to see Ben later. But we've got a few more minutes. The other room's not going to beat you out. Please, of course, this is a conversation, of course.
So we actually built a brand new website right now, and we've had our blog page separate before, but now on purpose we're going to integrate that blog into the website. And we've heard from experts everywhere that this is the best way to go forward, because that makes the whole website more interesting. It makes the business listings become alive. It makes the whole website more interesting for visitors, and also it helps with SEO. Because we found out that our website draws just general visitor keywords, and our blog page had all the keywords for the more niche products, like, I don't know, we don't do surfing in Sonoma County, but you know, food and wine and those kind of things, and that's now all together on our website. So we'll get more SEO out of that.
The SEO part, check. I think no one can say anything against that. That's the whole goal also of having a blog. You know what's wonderful about 2012 is nobody really knows where the future is going, and so there's no real perfect solution. I think that for us, it was the right thing to do, and I wouldn't change that. But for you guys, you're probably going the right way, so it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. So.
Great.
Ben.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that we have to actually optimize even more, because we do have a lot of referring backlinks and all that between the website and the blog, but we have to start making a lot more association relations between those two types of content. Yes.
You know, to your point, you know, I'm not sure if your KPIs are web hits, and I dare say they probably are. And I find that web hits is page views or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a lazy KPI, you know. But it's also about what KPI you're going to, you're going to call success. If you have a standalone blog or you're integrating your blog, you have to be able to represent success to upwards, to upper management. You know, basically. So, for example, like New South Wales, every week they have how their results are going in social, front and center on a big piece of paper right next to the coffee machine, so that every department can go up and see little green arrows going like that. They're like, oh, cool, fan page is up, or engagement's up, or something like that, or the blog is up, you know, on numbers. You just have to represent and show that success, you know, quantitative and qualitative. What worked, what newsfeed worked, you know, what blog article worked for which operator. You have to know how to share success with the industry and then also the board of directors. So that's just advocacy. So yeah, don't be afraid to like step away from web hits as a KPI, because it's too general now.
But ACO is a good KPI. I agree with that.
Who else in the audience? Yes, ma'am. Up 1 second.
Definitely take a stand up here, though.
So, to the note on KPIs, and pardon if I missed this.
You have to tell who you are, of course, to the room because of that.
Hello, I'm Callie from Google Travel team. We love data. No, but I think one of the challenges of our team working with destinations is the KPI conversation. So just a quick question, have you guys run any, I don't know if you can do this, like a brand lift study or a social lift study that, like, all of the engagement is really great, but can we connect it to a lift in actual visitation to your destination? Has anyone run a study like that on their social media before? Question.
So
Thanks.
I think sorry, is there a question? Yeah, there is. You know, I'm not going to make social the scapegoat, but how do you do that with print? And, you know, how do you do that with brochures and stuff like that? So, and, you know, dare say QR codes. But the whole point is you have to measure something. You have to pick something and say, this is the KPI I'm going to measure on this campaign, or pick 3, I don't care. But stand behind them, actually give them time to work. So, yeah, impressions, or, you know, whatever you want to use on Facebook or Google or whatever you want to use, stick to it and actually also educate your industry on why you've picked this KPI. I think that's a massive learning curve. Is the industry is like, they'll rally behind you, and that's what we found with this campaign, because we were transparent. This worked, this didn't work. That video is now sent out to the industry to show that this actually worked. Because a lot of the time they're like, yay, 100,000 fans, what the hell does that mean? But also, you know, that's the whole shotgun and rifle approach is you have to start somewhere and you have to pick those people. But if you build a community of 10,000 fans, they've got the engagement and the reach to reach way more people than that. And I mean, that's Tourism Australia's whole social strategy, is that we're going to pick niches and own it. And then they'll do the marketing for us. And the Friends of Friends on Facebook is huge. They've got 3 million fans, but I think their reach is like 280 million or something like that. So, I mean, that's kind of the new world.
It's funny because the KPI aspect is actually the thing that keeps me up the most at night. Because, I mean, there's so many channels now, and it used to be so easy because you do an awareness campaign, and then you'd have a conversion campaign, and you'd know exactly what's working, what's not working. And now, I mean, it's just a question of trying the best KPI are the number of visitors in my city. And as long as that number is up, we feel we're still doing a good job. But there's a day, of course, that it's not going to be good enough. But it's a great question. So I'm actually going to shoot back the question to Google and ask them to come up with a good KPI strategy on social media.
Social.
No, absolutely.
I mean, I want to see that today because I think it would show huge impact. So,
yeah.
Just curious.
I'm completely open to it. Yeah, game on.
To hear, yeah. Thank you both. Really interesting stuff.
I mean, yeah, track it all the way through if you've got a conversion to make. You know, absolutely. But I mean, there's also, you know, there's different parts of the sales funnel to concentrate on. And if no one knows where you are, then obviously it's awareness. But then we just did a big listening project for Tourism Australia, and a lot of people are stuck in the consideration, and you know, that therefore is it TripAdvisor, or is it our content's not good enough? And you got to really sort of challenge where they are in the funnel, and if it's the last minute booking, then concentrate on that. So.
And I think you're right, Ben. I mean, when you said, like, when you pick the numbers, like, pick it, stand next to it, tell your stakeholders why you've picked it, and really, you know, make sure that people understand what that metric means and how you're going to define success. I mean, I see it even internally. You know, you start a Facebook campaign or you start a Twitter page, and maybe even the social media manager isn't sure what the metric is. So you're damn sure the people around that person who work with them, I have no idea what Betsy's doing in that office and what or how she's, you know, being successful. You've got to at least educate your internal team, and then, like you say, move out to stakeholders and stand by those metrics, even if they're not perfect at this point.
Oh, it's straight up job security. If your implementers don't know how to report success up, they're not going to do it. I call it the whack-a-mole theory. It's like, basically, I keep my head down, do my job, and don't, you know, celebrate success. That's retarded. Yeah. But then there's also another thing from upper management is that you know, they don't have to tweet. The CEO doesn't need to tweet, but in the same thing, they need to know how to be able to read a social media report and go, oh, okay, I can manage social media. So there's an up-down approach for sure. But, you know, basically, you have to be able to report success, and you should be proud of your work when you're in social. And sometimes it's qualitative and sometimes it's quantitative, but also management should be able to how to spread that out to the industry as well.
Can I just say, I did not want to present with this panel simply because of the accents alone. I mean, between Australian and French Canadian, and then you watch me come up there and try to present, like, it's just over. Like, everything you say, everybody back here is like, oh, that's cute.
You want to say g'day again, or water, or 16, 17, 18, 19?
Yes, for the video, just say a bunch of Australian and French Canadian words so we can, yes, please.
Ben, you mentioned QR codes. That kind of piqued my interest for a second because I realized I haven't been asked to create one of those for months and months. Are they dead? Are they done? Are they still an effective use on?
Shit. I mean, yeah, where do I want to start? Oh, yeah, someone nailed it before in the session before. The industry jumped all over it and ran ahead of it. In social media, the consumer's way out ahead, and we're playing catch up as an industry in Instagram and, you know, Twitter, Facebook or whatever. We jumped on QR codes and went, saving grace. No one's even got it. You have to upload it yourself, and until it becomes standard on these things, then I think they'll be great. But people jumped on it, and someone said they were in an in-flight magazine that no one used them, and the path to purchase was way off. It was just wacky. So the consumers were just like, nah, this isn't saving me time or you know, effort. So why should I bother? But somehow we jumped all over it, And that confused the hell out of me because I've only used it 3 times in my life successfully and went, wow, that's cool. So that's not good, I don't think. And I kind of enjoy social, so any QR codes.
Emmanuel, you're using them a bit though. You seem to.
We do we are looking. We're not using them right now. We're one of the ones that use them very badly initially, really badly. But I think QR codes are a great tool that's going to have to evolve and a great opportunity, especially once you're in place. So I think those are the kind of strategies we're looking at, not advertising strategies.
I mean, they have a place for sure, and you know, for shops that have, you know, if they're closed, it's a great way to get, you know, be able to get information after hours. Then that's sort of one way I see it working for sure. And I mean, I think the real estate industry, shock horror, is actually using it well. But other than that, I'm kind of lost in that, and I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. I promised Troy I'd take a stand on everything and not flip-flop, but yeah, man, if you're going to use them, like, make sure you know where you're taking them.
And on that note, let's give them both a round of applause once again. Ben and Emmanuel, thank you.